Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest first became a household name when she played Donna on That 70s Show. She then traded her bell-bottoms in for an orange jumpsuit on Netflix's groundbreaking Orange is the New Black. And now you can see Laura Prepon donning out tips for healthy living and parenting with her new YouTube channel. Let's take a look.
Hi, everybody. Since the release of my first book, you guys have sent me so many pictures of the recipes and all these comments about how the information has helped you in your lives. And that literally inspires me every day to keep doing what I'm doing. And thank you so much for doing that. With your help, the book became a New York Times bestseller, which is such an honor. And so many of you have been asking for new tips, new tricks, new recipes and hacks that I'm doing in the kitchen. So I decided to make some videos for you. So please comment with any recipes you want to see, questions you have in the kitchen, maybe an ingredient you don't know how to use, and I'll do my best to answer them in these videos. I've never done this before, so we're gonna do this together. And subscribe to my YouTube channel because I can't wait to share these videos with you.
Everybody, please put your hands together for Laura Prepon. Hey. I'm curious, did it feel more vulnerable sitting next to that than ever sitting next to a trailer for a show that you've been in or a clip for a show that you've been in?
Oh, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's so a different muscle than I'm used to using. Most of the time when we're filming these, there are so many bloopers that the producer is like, we need to do some kind of bloopers reel because there's so many, because this is not something I do very often. But I love it, and I mean, exactly, what I just said. It's just, I love sharing this stuff with you guys, and thank you so much for the reception of it and the fact that you guys love it. I really appreciate it so much.
So you wrote a book, and from that book, people started getting in touch with you about more recipes or different recipes. And from what I've noticed from the videos, as of right now, they're fairly basic recipes. It's not like a big sort of like, this is how you make a huge meal for your family. These are like very simple things that people kind of should have the tools for, or the tools that they had before were maybe wrong. Right. So where did that idea come from?
I've been cooking since I was a kid. My mother was a gourmet chef and taught me basically everything I know about cooking. But that was the inspiration for my first book, which was a wonderful experience, and I love it. And, after that, I just got a lot of questions about, especially now that I'm a mother, that changes the game. It's like total game changer, and the way that you juggle life and your job and your schedule, which so many of us have a struggle with that. I wanted to do whatever I could to contribute and help, based on all the questions from fans and followers on social media. This was the best way for me to answer those questions and communicate with you guys.
One of the most recent recipes is bone broth, which I am a big proponent and lover of bone broth myself.
That's awesome. It's so funny. I've been talking about bone broth for so many years.
It's a fad now.
It was, but I mean, yes.
Are we past the fad?
No, we're not past it, because you can't be past it, because this stuff is like liquid gold and it's so good for you. Yeah. But I find that a lot of people still don't know about it. And that's, again, one of the reasons why just on this last video, I wanted to show you how easy it is to make it, because it's so good for you. It feeds you at such a cellular level.
It's also a really great way to use everything.
For sure. And again, I got so many questions about it. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make a video about this to show you how easy it is. And I timed myself making it. But honestly, it's just like with all of our challenging schedules and so many things pulling our attention, I just want to do whatever I can to help make healthy living easier for people. Because I feel like a misconception with trying to live like a healthy lifestyle is that it takes a long time.
Or it's expensive.
And so any way that I can help kind of make that easier for women, especially mothers, and all the parents out there, and just my fans in general who are so awesome and supportive, I want to be able to share that with you. And I'm just so happy that you guys are using this stuff. It's so funny because the other day, we were filming at this corrections facility, and when I had scouted it, it wasn't in use. And then when I came back, I was walking towards the set, and a hand jutted out and was like, hey, and I turned and I saw this man, and then I looked inside and it was a CO break room. And I looked in, I'm like, what is going on in there? And he was like, hey, I love your YouTube channel. I just make your egg salad recipe. And he was like obsessed with the egg salad recipe, going on and on about it, which was so great. So, I mean, a lot of men
That's amazing.
Too. No, it's great.
Can I ask you what has been, I mean, sure, as a person who's been in front of the camera for a number of years now,
yeah,
people approach you all the time and say, I love that 70s show, or they quote it, or they quote Orange is the New Black.
For sure.
Was the moment that a male CO guard said, I love your egg salad recipe, possibly the best fan interaction you've ever had?
It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. And it's funny because all the officers behind him were like, yeah, we really like it.
They're like, yeah, he doesn't shut up about it. We all ate the egg salad recipe.
No, it was awesome. And, you know, what's funny is my first book, The Stash Plan, it's a lot about meal prep because my mother taught me how to meal prep when I was very, very young. And I've been working, you know, when I was 15, I basically moved out of the house and I started working. But the way that I always could nourish myself was to meal prep. So meal prep is just ingrained in me. And I also found that with meal prep, a lot of men meal prep because a lot of my friends that go to the gym or work out a lot of the guys like prepare a lot of their food at home and they love, you know, the Stash Plan. But now as a mother, all of that has taken on a whole new level for me in terms of nourishment. Like I've always been concerned with nourishing myself and healthy living, but now that I'm a wife and a mother, it's become a whole different importance, you know. But yeah, it's just great. People are totally into it.
In what way? Like your meal prep becomes not just about you, it becomes about the others around you that you're trying to make sure are fed?
For sure. And, you know, the other thing is a lot of mothers, because, you know, I'm a director, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and, you know, there's a lot of, especially when I'm directing, I mean, my schedule is crazy. I mean, we go to work in the dark and we come home in the dark. So a lot of times I prep a bunch of food that I can bring with me to work, that my husband can make meals with, and that the food for my daughter, all of her stuff can be made from that. And as soon as her pediatrician okayed it, I was giving her bone broth as soon as I could. And
it can be a meal. Bone broth in and of itself can be a meal.
Yeah, I mean, it's protein, it's cartilage, it's collagen, it's all of these incredible nutrients from all the vegetables you put in it, and you just suck it up right away. And I cook as much as I can with bone broth. I'm like a broken record about it because it's the thing that's healed me the most out of all of the things I've done and all of these wonderful people I've had the opportunity to meet and talk to about health and wellness. Bone broth is one of those things that's just a constant. And I always try to talk about that for anybody of any age, for mothers. You know, it's a great tool and it's a great nutrient, and you can put it into a lot of stuff, which I love.
You mentioned directing a couple times and scouting. When did you start directing?
I started directing on my first movie I ever did in Coleman, Alabama. We were like in the middle of nowhere, and I had only been on 70 Show, I think, for like 2 years or something, like 2 or 3 years. I think I was like 21. And I saw this group of guys standing around, and I went up to the director. I'm like, who are those guys standing around? Because I was still learning. Since the first time I've ever been on a set, I always hovered around the director. I always was just fascinated by what they were doing. And David Traynor, who directed every episode of 70s except for the pilot, is so wonderful. And he's taught me so much. And he was like our father figure. We were all really young, you know, so he was amazing. But this first film I did, I saw these guys standing around, and the director was like, well, that's the second unit director and the crew. That's the second unit crew. The second unit director quit. And I'm like, well, I'm off tomorrow, so why don't you give the crew to me, and I'll go get... Second unit is like, if you're, you know, you have the main scene with like the actors, but sometimes they'll go do second unit to get like a car driving down the street and like establishment shots and stuff like that you don't really need the actors for, but you just need to get like some second unit stuff to help kind of tell a story. And he was like, okay, so the next day I showed up to the production office. They gave me a list of shots, and I took these guys, they were all guys, And we went out and we were like driving in this van. And I'm like, and I look at the list. I'm like, okay, I need a man on a tractor. So I look around and I'm like, pull over. And we pulled over and I'm like, okay, he needs to sign something. I hand wrote a consent form. And I ran up to this guy who's like, never met, he was just like a random guy on his tractor in Alabama. I run up, I asked him if we could film him. He signed the piece of paper that I wrote. We got the shot, and it was beautiful. And then we had to get all these things, like we had to film in a chicken farm. We had to climb up on this water tower and get a wide shot of the car driving through, like all this stuff. So then these guys were like, when you direct your first movie, we want to be your crew, because a lot of these guys were brought in from Los Angeles. So I finished the movie, I got back to LA, I wrote a short film, and they were my crew. Wow. And it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. So
can we put this into...
that was my first start.
I find this story so fascinating in regards to the context of already being on a television show for 2 or 3 years, because I think most audiences, most people have this perspective of working actors, especially the leads on a television show, that it's gravy after that. And that like you get a movie, you get this, and there's no hustle. But here you are, essentially a successful actress at this point on a network television show, and you are handwriting, the consent form, and you're pulling people over and you're running around with this crew. And it's this idea that like to make art, to make movies, no matter at what stage you're at, the hustle kind of never ends.
Oh no, I still hustle every day. I mean, it's just what you got to do. I mean, nothing is handed to you. I was taught that at a young age. If you want something, you go after it. And right away, I knew I wanted to be, obviously acting is my first love, but directing is right along there. And I then wanted to go to film school, and I'm like, I want to be a director. So I hunted down one of my friends. His father was a teacher at a local film school near where I lived. I literally hunted this guy down. And I was like, hey, I'm friends with your son. I'm like, will you put me through your film program? And I'm like, I work a full-time job, because I was on that 70s show at the time. And
you know what that full-time job was when you said that?
I mean, honestly, I don't even think so, because 70s hadn't really like hit really,
It was like, it was a little later into the run,
yeah. Yeah, it takes, especially back then, this was like 1998, things take a little longer to kind of percolate, it's not like now where instantly it's just all right there for us. And also, I was just so new, like, I just knew I wanted to be a director, and I just hunted this guy down. And after he met with me one time, he's like, all right, I'll put you through, the program. And then, and he ended up producing my second short film. So he taught me a lot. And then I just kind of went from there. I directed this thing that I created with 2 of my friends called Neighbors, which is, again, these little videos that we would go out, we would write them, I would direct them, I would edit them when I got home from work. And then we just put them up, and that was like my first. And I'll tell you something that's so crazy is because I edited all those Neighbors by myself, just teaching myself how to edit. That is one of the biggest tools I could possibly ask for, because now when you're directing and you have, there's a large amount of pressure. I love it and I thrive with that pressure, but there's a lot. And the fact that I know how to edit so well just by doing these like little videos that I taught myself, I know if we're running a little short on time here and there in my head, I'm editing in my head as we go. And I can always kind of keep us on, the schedule. So it's funny, that little thing totally is something I use every day.
Editing also teaches you how to write, too.
100%.
Because you get in the editing room and you're like, what was I thinking? This is so long.
Exactly.
What is just the information that needs to move this scene to the next scene?
For sure.
And then you can go back and rewrite the thing or do whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a really good tool.
So now you're directing, you're scouting, you're directing on Orange is the New Black. How many episodes have you directed of Orange?
I just finished my 3rd one.
Your 3rd one?
Yeah.
And what was that process like, getting to direct that? What was
awesome.
was the hustle there?
The hustle was I basically wouldn't leave Genji alone. Since the beginning, I'm like, I want to direct the show. And also the stories are just so incredible, and the characters are so incredible. I
love this past season, especially the opening episode of this past season.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I loved the episode I directed last season. But yeah, it was really good. People really liked it. I love every season for different reasons. But yeah, it's great. It's a lot. I think that when people come and direct Orange, they don't realize how it's a big it's a big thing to do.
Massive cast.
And I love it. It's wonderful. I'm just like a duck in water when I'm doing that. It's just, I love it so much.
What's the hardest part of directing Orange? Not just for you, but maybe for other directors as well when they come on board.
I think the hardest thing about directing Orange is just the time constraint, because there's a lot of people to cover. The storylines are wonderful and intense, and you never want to rush. I mean, my main thing is I never let my actors know the time pressure that I'm under as a director, which every director is. And, the days are just really packed. So I think the main thing is just, there's always just, for any director, there's always a clock. And you always have to watch that. And it takes a lot of a director who doesn't let the artists feel that, the actors feel that, that's something that I feel is very important, because as an actor, I don't ever want to feel time constrained as a director. It's always about what goes on screen and making the actors comfortable and making sure the crew can do their jobs to the best of their ability. I think on our show though, it's just the time. It just takes time.
What does it do to you as an actor if a director were to come up to you and be like, hey, we really got to get this, we're running out of time?
Immediately, I'm like, they're inexperienced. That's my initial thing. My initial thing is like, number one, I'm like, this guy has no idea what it's like to be an actor. Mm-hmm. Every director should take an acting class. Every director should know what it feels like to stand up, and basically that dream you hear about where you wake up naked in front of a group of people and you're like terrified. A director should know what that feels like. You know what I mean? Because acting, it's a vulnerable thing. You're in front of these people. It's just a very vulnerable thing. Like your emotions and everything. It's a lot.
There's also such an element of acting that is instinctual, in the sense that, like, if words aren't coming out right because you don't feel them, that is like the most vulnerable thing that an actor can have. Is like a writer being like, these are the lines, you need to say them, and it's like, I know, but they're not coming out.
Right.
I don't instinctually relate to them. And if you don't have a director who can guide you there.
No, your director, yeah. He, the director is the kind of, they balance everything. And they have to make it so that everybody can do their jobs, from, set design to, prop master to light. Everything. Our camera guys, like, they need the time to set up the shot correctly that you want, You just have to make sure that everyone feels like they have their due time, And then once everybody knows exactly what they're doing, then you just, you go. And it's great. But yeah, as an actor, when I feel that stuff, I'm just like, but I also know what it's like to be on the side of the camera, and I know the pressure they're under, so I have a little bit more compassion with it, but it's kind of unacceptable when that happens.
Now, when you're directing an episode, do they try to plan it so that it's an episode that you're in less?
No, the first episode I directed in season 5, I was held hostage in a shower curtain with my arms tied behind my back and duct tape over my mouth. So no.
Do you think that was them being like, yeah, go ahead, direct. Let's see how this goes.
There's a part of me that's like, oh my God, you guys totally hazed me. This was like haze week. But no, after that, I'm like, okay, I can direct anything. Because literally my hands were duct taped. They would put the duct tape over my mouth. I was like a dolphin Taylor and I would have to be dropped to our knees and then laid on the ground because we couldn't move our limbs. And then literally we're like, action, with like under the duct tape. And then as we're acting and doing these scenes, and like Red is being totally like debased by the character Piscatella, and so I'm doing my thing, and Taylor and I have all of our stuff going on while watching all the other actors, and then after the take, they come in, lift the duct tape, lift me up, and I'm like hopping over to like give notes to people. It was very funny. But again, learning experience. Like after that, I'm like, dude, and also I was very comfortable doing that too. I just, you just do it. You just do it. And I love it. So, I wanted to do it.
Well, you don't keep getting the job if you start not necessarily complaining, but start saying things like, well, I don't know if I could do this if I'm tied up like this. You have to kind of be like, well, this is the episode you gave me. I have to make this the best thing that I can possibly make it.
Exactly. And you just do it. I'm like, okay, cool. Honestly, I'm like, I can't wait to do this and have it be awesome. So, and it turned out really well, and I'm really proud of it. And, it was great.
Are you going to try to direct a feature at any point?
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
Are you like developing or working on anything?
Yeah, I mean, I love directing, so, all of it, whether it's, a show or a feature, I got, yes. And when the time is right, I would love to come back and share it with you, But yes, of course, for sure.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question? Hi.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm actually an actress too. I had a small little connection. I was Sankey's Corinne in season 5 on the phone.
Oh, very cool.
I really love the cast and I commend them and the amount of diversity, everything. I really commend the cast. Any tips for young actresses like myself balancing your health and your acting life? Because I know you go into, diet is really important. And just balancing your health life and your acting life.
I think for me, the main thing that helps so much is just preparation. So, as example, like when I am acting all day or directing a crazy like 14-hour day or whatever, I always bring all of my food with me. I never rely on, you hear about sets and like craft service and all this stuff. I never rely on craft service and I never rely on catering. I always bring my own food with me because I also have like a bunch of food allergies. So one thing for me to really help control my schedule and my health, which that's a great question, thank you, is just the most preparation I can do and the most food I can bring with me for all of my meals throughout the day. That's been the most successful thing for me, honestly.
I think we have a question coming in from Twitter, as that happens always.
Okay.
Do you think Alex Voss would be any good working in the prison kitchen?
Do you see the food we eat in there? It's like not.
You have to be good in the prison kitchen? I don't know.
You don't. And it's unfortunate because the story, especially the storyline this year with the food, it's just, no. I think anybody can, because we basically just like cut open a bag and pour out this like, it's the whole food situation. Don't even get me started on that conversation of, what they should be feeding, anyway, that's a whole situation, but the food that is served is not okay.
In prisons.
Yeah, and we also cover that on our show, and we talk about it on our show. I mean, it's funny, I was talking to someone about this, about how much of what goes on in the world affects, the things that are written on the show. And, and I've said this before, but Genji didn't set out to write some expose on like the prison system. But as an artist, with our writers who do tell these stories, I mean, how can you not have what's going on affect your art? And for them, it's writing, and telling these stories. And it's just the food that is served is not okay.
And also, if you're doing 6 seasons of a television show set inside of a women's prison, I would imagine the real stories of that prison have to have an effect on the writers simply because they need content, they need ideas.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this year especially, the stories that are being told, I mean, the show never disappoints, but this year is going to be, we're going there and we're telling stories that are hard to tell. But
it's the last season, right?
It's the last
Coming
season,
up?
yeah.
Wow.
But to answer the question about the Alex in the kitchen thing, I think if Alex puts her mind on anything, I think she could probably do it. So I think she'd be fine in the kitchen, truthfully.
Next question.
So as someone who's currently working to write and publish their own cookbook, what advice would you have about doing that?
I would say, it's interesting. It's kind of like whether it's writing a cookbook or narrative or, acting. It's all, I always kind of, one thing that always came true to me and that I was taught as a young age, and I always still like remind myself of this every day, is like your voice and your cookbook and the way that you cook is specific to you, And, especially with a show like Orange, it's like we take these incredible characters and everybody is so wonderful and individual and has their own voice. And that's what I loved about our show when it first came out, was there was so many different incredible people and stories to tell, and they were all so different. All of our characters were so different. And, whether it's acting or whatever, it's like you can give the same, you can give 100 chefs the same recipe and it'll all be different. Just like you'll give 100 actors the same line and every take on that line will be different. Whether you're a director or an actor or a chef, it's all about you and your viewpoint and how you do that thing. And that is something that, for me personally, has helped me. Because whether it's writing a cookbook or acting or directing or anything, there's always going to be, obstacles and challenges, of course, or else, everybody would be doing it. I mean, it's not an easy thing, but it's wonderful and it's worth the fight. And there's only one you, and that is something that that's always helped me. And it's true when you look at the success of these wonderful projects that showcase the individual, it's amazing, so go for it, right on.
You also have to show people that you do it too, right? You're not just going to get these things unless you were able to say, look, I already do it. Like, invest in this and do it. Look,
I had to fight hard to get a directing opportunity. And I also, the other thing too is when you do get the opportunity, you have to kill it. That's the thing. It's like, I have been doing a lot of groundwork myself with going to film school and doing these short films and writing my own short films and editing them myself and teaching myself editing and getting all my film equipment and going into, like, while I had a full-time job, but I love doing that. And then when the opportunity arose, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm ready. I might be like, oh my God, like nervous, but I know that I know what I'm doing. So in terms of like believing in yourself and your own ability, that is something where you do have to, when you do get the opportunity, you have to be able to pull it off. So that's the other thing. It's funny because for my first cookbook, I went and I did this show, this wonderful show called The Chew, which is not on the air anymore. And it's funny because these great chefs, Michael Simon, all these, great people, we cooked, I did this thing in like a Cuisinart, whatever, and I walked off, and they're like, wow, you actually know how to use a Cuisinart. And I'm like, of course I know how to use a Cuisinart. What are you talking about? They're like, well, a lot of people will write a book and they don't actually know how to make the recipe or what they're doing. And I was mind blown. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So it's just kind of like this odd thing of, the fact that like I had the opportunity to cook in front of people and whatever, they're like, whoa, you actually know you know how to do this. It was very funny. But yeah, just know when you get the opportunity, just like do it, get in there and do it.
And before the first cookbook, weren't you already kind of writing about your cooking, or am I mistaken in that?
I mean, I've always talked about the fact that I'm I'm a chef, I'm a chef, a home chef. I'm not like a professional. I'm all like, what my mom taught me and self-taught and all the books I've read. I've always talked about the fact that I love reading about health and wellness and the way the body works. My father was a surgeon. And that's always just been a huge passion of mine. So that's probably why. I mean, I've talked about it and I've been doing this, for like 20 years now, which is crazy. Yeah.
I think I have time for a couple more questions. Next question.
So hi, I love Orange
Wait,
is the New
where are you?
Black.
Oh, hi. How's it going?
I love Orange is the New Black. So now that you're a director and an actress at the same time, I was wondering what was the hardest scene to film for the show?
I think the hardest scene to film was probably one where I was tied up in the shower curtain. Just physically. I mean, it's, I think probably one of those scenes might be the hardest, but only because you're physically just, I physically was like tied up and bound and gagged on the floor. I mean, that kind of would suck for anybody. But yeah, probably one of those where, and also the scenes where it was really hard seeing, Piscatella do these things to Red. So just as an actress and someone who's, gotten close to like the character of Red over these years, it was just hard as a director, as an actor, and as me just to like do this storyline. So that was kind of tough. But it turned out great and all the actors were wonderful.
One more. What do we got? Right here. Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Hi. I like your little cat eye.
Thank you. I just admire you so much.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, as you are first introduced to this whole YouTube world and as you get started and as you grow, what's the number one thing you're hoping to get out of it and feel internally, I guess, and just, get out of your YouTube channel?
Well, I'm very new to this whole world, for real. Like as I said, like there's many bloopers, and I love learning about new things, and I love having another platform to be able to communicate with you guys and be able to do stuff like this. The main thing that it's kind of hard, not that I want to get out of it, but the main thing that I would like it to accomplish is just, really, like I said, now that I'm a mom, balancing my lifestyle with having a full-time job and wanting to be the best mother to my kid and the best partner I can be. Anything that will help make people's day just a little easier is what I want. I mean, when you guys reach out to me on social media and I read the comments about how some tip that I gave you, helped your day, or, a mother who I put this chicken recipe up that my mom taught me, and a mother made it for her kid, and the next day she made a different recipe, and her kid was like, go back to making what that Orange is the New Black lady makes.
Guard at a prison is like, love that egg salad.
Yeah, but even just like little things like that, or, I got a lot of questions about simple things like cutting an avocado and melon and stuff like that, and how to like pack for your kids when you're on a trip, or, people who are in college, like ways to like do things that are easier and more, not expensive, and anything like that, that what I do will help kind of alleviate some pressure in your life and make your life that much easier that's what I love. I love, hearing from you guys and your comments and suggestions on what you want to know and what you got out of it. And, the fact that I think yesterday I have like, just on Instagram, there's like 5 million people who are following me. And I was like, wow, that was mind-blowing to me. And I'm like, I want to contribute, like, what can I do to contribute, How can I, help these people who, in their busy day, I come up on their feed? What is something I can do that can make your day better? That's something that's important to me. So yeah.
Rather than post like vacation photos or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'm not, people post what they post, and all good, you know what I'm saying, and it's their voice and what they want to communicate. For me personally, if I know that I made your day better, a little easier, a little healthier, gave you a tip you can use for yourself or your family, I'm stoked, and that makes me really happy.
And people can check it out at your YouTube channel, which is the, do we know what the actual URL is it? Is it just YouTube / Laura Prepon?
I don't know.
Check out her Twitter. Check out her YouTube. Orange is the New Black.
I'm a little analog. Like, I'm trying to catch up to you guys here, and the YouTube thing, I'm telling you, it's new, so I'm sorry, I don't know. But the link will be there for you guys to click on.
You can find it, I'm sure, on your Instagram or on your Twitter as well.
For sure,
all of these different platforms. And Orange is the New Black is on Netflix. The last season is up on Netflix, and the final season.
The last season isn't. We're filming it.
Well, 6. I mean, the last season that
6
came out.
is on, and it's awesome.
But the last season is being filmed right now, and we can't wait to see it.
Yes, we're filming right now. Yeah, it's
amazing.
great.
Everybody, give a big round of applause for Laura Prepon. Let's hear it.
Thank you.